Hello and welcome back. I got the two wings sitting here and I'm getting prepared to do the CG balance of the aircraft. So the first thing you want to do is this is the leading edge, that's the trailing edge. So we want to measure from the leading edge back a range. Now that range is published in the manual. It's right there. Okay, you can see that. Okay, so the range is 3.5 to 4 1/4. So I'm just going to take my ruler, and I've started. Maybe you can't see it. I don't know. There's a little mark right there, which is where the fuselage hits the outside of where I just drew it along the edge of the fuselage underneath the wing. So that's where the fuselage hits. So the mark I want to make for the CG, I want to measure that range. It's 3/4 of an inch from 3.5 to 4 1/4. So I'm going to use my little ruler here, and I'm going to measure. Start with 4 1/4. Okay, and I want to be able to see that little mark that I made. Okay, so I'm going to start with, going to start with 4 1/4, and make a mark right there. That is 4 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to make a mark at 3.5. So that is the CG range. Anything in there is acceptable, but I'm going to mark, that's 3.5, that's 4 1/4. Now I'm going to mark the exact middle of that, because I want to be as precise as possible. So the longer mark is at 3 let's make sure, 3 7/8. Okay, so that's the main mark, and anywhere in there is acceptable. So I've got 3 marks. The middle one is the center of the range, and the other 2 are the outside extremes of the range. Now I'm going to stop for a second and put that on the other airplane, other wing. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm here with the CG machine. It is set up. I'll put it over here. So the CG machine is set up. I move the little rulers here to 3 7/8, which is also 99 millimeters. So they're set at 3 7/8, which is the center of the range. I've got the CG machine sitting in front of the stand that the aircraft is on. That way I can easily lift it back off the CG machine, set it back down on the stand. And I also have a series of weights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that strip, 3 on this strip, 2, 2, and 2 1s. So I can get any combination of number of weights. These weights are 7 grams or 1/4 of an ounce, and they're just standard weights that you buy at the hobby store. So the wing is screwed on, the battery's in place, the receiver's in place, the telemetry is in place, the switch is in place, everything is inside the airplane, and it's almost ready to fly until as soon as we get the CG. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stand up and set this on the CG machine. I think you'll be able to see that. So I'm going to lift it up over the stand. Sort of guiding it with one hand, holding it with one hand in the center. Okay. And bringing it forward enough. And then you can see these little arms here. These little arms here, I'm going to set the airplane down with that arm at the front of the wing. And I want to make sure the other one is at the front of the wing, because having those two arms right on the leading edge of the wing is important. Okay. And I'm not letting it go. I'm holding it. So I'm holding the thing very lightly down here. My thumb is under it. It's a bit nose heavy, and you can see, well, let me make sure that this arm is right there. Arm right here is good, the arm right here is good, and you just have to sit here and play with the thing. I'm going to look under the wing and make sure they're all in the right spot. Yep, it's easier to read the 99 millimeters than it is the 3 7/8. So that is a bit nose heavy. You can see how far down it is. So what I'm going to do is start, and I expected it to be nose heavy because I had to put the battery further forward ahead of the wheels, and the battery is slightly ahead of the CG too. So I'm going to start with about, let me guess, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to start with 8 weights just to be on. I think, you know, something like that will definitely change the CG. So I'm just going to play. I'm going to hold the airplane, walk around to the other side. Okay, and place 8 weights on the horizontal stabilizer in the back. So 5 on one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weights on the back, and that's definitely too tail heavy. So I'm going to grab a few more, and in a minute here I'll move the camera and show you where I'm putting the weights. But 8 is too much, so I'm going to go down to take 1 off, 7. Nope, still too tail heavy. So I'll go with 6, and that's still a bit a bit tail heavy. And so I'm going to just go with 5. So I'm going to put 3 weights on one side and 2 weights on the other side of the rudder. So I got 5. And I think we got a winner. Come back here and sit down. Make sure everything looks good. So I got 5 of those quarter of an ounce lead weights back there, and looking how this balances, I can just like touching the prop and letting it oscillate a little. I'm going to call that pretty level. Now I could do with 1 more weight. What I'm looking at is this red stripe here. Is that red stripe level with the ground? What I'm looking at. So I might do, let me try putting 1 more weight on. The other thing I can do is adjust slightly where these weights are located. So I'm going to put them I'm going to put one more weight on and slide him forward just a little. Okay. So you adjust where they are a little bit. Okay. So now I got 6 weights on there. And that red stripe is pretty level. If I try to push it back, it comes back down. If I stop the oscillation, it's not touching the stand anywhere. It's only being held by the 2 pads in the center here, which is in the center of the range. And I think 6 weights are going to do it. Alright, so let me stop the camera and I'll show you how I got the weights arranged. Okay, so I've got those weights on the horizontal stabilizer there. I got 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and so I'm going to go with 6 weights. And now I got to decide where to put them. So I'm going to stop the camera a minute and then we're going to figure out where to put them. Okay, I got the one. I'm back. Hi, I'm right here and behind the camera. And noticing that the thing was slightly off, I had forgotten that I had put a set of weights up on the other side here. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weights back here on the back. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with 8 weights because I think the thing looks nice and level. 8 weights isn't bad for a little airplane like this. It's not going to affect the performance in any way. Now I got to figure out how to attach them. So now that I know the count is 8, I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I've made 4 equal size weights, 4 on one side, 4 on the other, totaling 8. And I think what I'm going to do is put it down here. I'm going to put the weights, since they're right there, I'm going to put them right along here. This is good solid wood here. And so I'm going to put the weights right there. Now how am I going to do that? I'll be back. Okay, here we are looking under the belly of the beast here, and I always have a package of lead weights because you never know when the weights are going to fall off. And by the way, what I'll do is add in the pre-flight checklist, you'll see later, before every flight you verify that the weights are still there. There's several ways to put them on. These weights have a sticky back on them, and so I'm going to do that. And the 2 weights are going to be opposite one another. So let me pull the sticky back off. Probably going to need my tweezers, which I don't have in front of me right now. But that's alright. We'll see if we can get this with my fingernail. Alright, we got it. So I'm just going to pull the sticky back off. Airplane's nice and clean. So I'm just going to glue that one on right there. And press hard. And it should hold. Okay. But you always need to make sure it's there. I'm going to pull the other half off. Other 4. By the way, the airplane is not on the CG machine anymore. It's back on the stand. You wouldn't want to do this on the CG machine because that would be dangerous. Okay, so a little strip is off that one. And what I want to try to do is line it up so that they're directly opposite one another for a reason. Okay, so now I have had on occasion, I always like to put them on opposite sides of one another, and the reason is this. I've had to, at times, if these come off, which they can do because you got, you know, oil and stuff coming back here, they're on there pretty good. And I've got airplanes that have sticky weights on there. They've been on there 7-8 years, never came off. Okay. But I've also had some come off, and so the other thing I do from time to time is actually take a drill a hole through this weight, through that way, through the weight on the other side, and they're paired, and put a bolt through, and they won't come off that way. In this particular case, I'm not going to do that. If one were to come off, it would still easily be flyable. Even if both of them came off, we are not out of the CG range in such a way that it wouldn't fly well. You might notice it's nose heavy, but being nose heavy is a lot better than being tail heavy. And so I'm not worried about these coming off. If I do have a problem with them over time, I will put a screw right through both, right through there like that, and they will stay in place. Okay, CG is now balanced. So in the last 20 seconds of this video, I wanted to show you that after I put the weights on the tail, I always anyways go back and verify, and the airplane's back on the CG machine. It is not touching the stand back there, and I bounce it around a little bit. These little markers haven't changed, 99 millimeters or 3 7/8, and it is very nicely balanced. Thank you very much. CG complete.